Hello, hello. Check, check. 1, 2. All right, we are live. So, my name's Dylan, and here at Killer Whale, we've been working for the past 8 years to build some of the most amazing automation technology in the space, industry-grade automation technology. And while we're getting this stream off the ground, we are giving away all of our TradingView indicators and strategies completely for free. All you have to do is like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your TradingView username into our support chat in Discord. So, we've been working for, like I said, the past 8 years on all kinds of different automation technology. This stream is 100% sponsored by us. If you'd like access to any of our AI automation tools that connect to all major cryptocurrency exchanges, just go ahead and go to killerwhaleventures.com. You can sign up for a complimentary platform walkthrough if you need a little bit more assistance in selecting the right plan for yourself. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and get into the analysis here. And first things first, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin. We're always going to start with Bitcoin on this channel. If anybody has any requests for indicator reviews, asset reviews, strategy reviews, and what do I mean by that is if you have a strategy that you've been looking at on TradingView, for example, an indicator that you've been looking at on TradingView, or an asset that you want maybe a little bit more insight about, feel free to drop a request either in our Discord channel or in the comments of this video. We will be replying to all of the comments in these early days here. And this is a limited time offer. So if you want access to our industry grade tools, you do need to go ahead and send your TradingView username to our Discord chat. All right, very cool, very cool. So Bitcoin, today we saw a little bit of a bounce. If we stay right about here and make a third higher low, that would give me maybe a little bit more conviction that we might be turning back around here. As you'll see when we get to the technical side of things, that we are currently in a bear pole bear flag, which I'll get to in just a moment. But at the moment, we are also kind of in bearish control as far as the moving averages go. You can see both the 10 and the 20 moving averages are pointing to the downside here. So still firmly in bearish control. However, we are still in our bullish control zone, which is this green cloud that you're looking at right here. This is our long-term Bitcoin algorithm, and this bullish control zone has been active for over 2 years now. Let's see. Yeah, this bullish control zone started in January of 2023. So yeah, coming up on 2 years, we've been firmly in this bullish control zone. We've seen a series of new all-time highs. And, you know, really we want to stay above this $80,500, $81,000 level in order to continue to remain in this bullish control zone that we've been in for the last 2 years. Let's go ahead and look at this on the technical side of things. So let me turn off our long-term Bitcoin algorithm here. And let's just look at it on a purely technical basis. So if we're looking at Bitcoin right now, yesterday we did achieve the first target to the downside out of our bear pole bear flag that we've been seeing this last, since November 21st, we've been forming this ascending triangle, and we had a firm break to the downside, and we did achieve target number 1 yesterday. Now, again, we really don't want to go below target number 3 and have a daily 12-hour candle close anywhere but below this, $80,000 level, because that would flip our entire outlook on the market to being a bit more bearish, because our long-term algorithm would be telling us that we are now firmly in a bearish control zone. So we really just want to see maybe right here, like I was saying, a higher low get put in, and we just kind of have like a fake out breakout of this bear pole bear flag that we've been seeing here. If we got a higher low here and then just kind of started floating back to the upside, I think that'd be pretty healthy. Not to say that we can't go down to target number 2, target number 3, and then target number 4 all the way down at 65,000. So yeah, Bitcoin could have a lot further to go, but really what we want to see in the short term to stay bullish is staying above that $80,000, $81,000 level with a solid level of support being put in and then a consistent move to the upside. There's not a whole lot of other technicals that I'm looking at here on Bitcoin. Again, this is a, analysis off of the 12-hour chart. So we're looking at a bit longer time frame. We're looking at like the extent of like entire cycles and entire moves. So right now we've definitely been in a bearish stint since about 126,000, where we saw our previous all-time high. So yeah, we've been bearish until now. So the trend is bearish until proven otherwise. So we're just waiting for some structure to develop in order to maybe prove that we could, continue to hold that bullish control zone. So until we see that happen, we're going to just keep an eye on this with the 4 targets we have measured here. And just to reiterate, we really want to stay above that $80,000, $81,000 level. That'd be where we want to stay in order to keep bullish control on this trend. Let's go ahead and read some news here. This is by News BTC. Who really sold the dip? On-chain data exposes Bitcoin's true sellers. Bitcoin has retraced to the $85,000 level, a critical support zone that bulls must defend to prevent deeper breakdown. After failing to reclaim higher levels, price action has slowed and volatility has compressed, reinforcing a market environment dominated by apathy and fear. Sentiment across the crypto space has deteriorated sharply, with a growing number of analysts openly discussing the possibility of a prolonged bear market extending into next year. In this context, understanding who is actually selling becomes far more important than the price move itself. According to the recent CryptoQuant report, Bitcoin's pullback from the 88.2 thousand region towards 88.5 provides the $88,000 region to the $85,000 region provides a clean on-chain read of market behavior beneath the surface. Exchange inflow data segmented by short-term holders and long-term holders shows that the decline was not driven by structural distribution from long-term investors. Historically, bear markets accelerate when long-term holders begin distributing supply. The absence of that behavior suggests current drawdown reflects positioning adjustments and risk reduction rather than a collapse in long-term conviction. As Bitcoin tests 85K, the market is not only evaluating the price support levels, short-term profit taking, not structural distribution. The CryptoQuant report by Cozy Block provides a precise breakdown of who actually drove Bitcoin's recent pullback. On December 15th, when Bitcoin traded near 88,000, short-term holders sent approximately 24.7 thousand Bitcoin to exchanges. Crucially, 86.8% of this supply was realized in profit, while only 13% was sold at a loss. In dollar terms, profitable short-term holder inflows exceeded $1.89 billion, vastly overweighing the loss-driven selling. This profile clearly indicates that sellers were primarily near-term buyers exiting from strength rather than panicked participation capitulating under stress. Well, that's quite different than what we were reading even a few days ago and last week. We were reading that, the Bitcoin bottom could be in, so this tends to happen when we continue to see more and more bearish action, is everything in the news starts to turn kind of negative as well. And they're like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Where is the bottom possibly going to be for Bitcoin? But what we also see in this article is, most of the selling activity that had been occurring on exchanges from inflow to exchanges were from positions that were profitable. So that's basically just people that have been holding for a long time, looking to reposition, looking to take a little profit for the holidays, whatever it may be, right? So yeah, I'm not really too concerned about where Bitcoin's at the moment until we start to break outside of our bullish control zone. If we do have a 12-hour candle close below that $81,000 level and we do flip bearish, I'm going to have a very different tune about what's going on in the market. But at the moment, we're still within our bullish control zone on Bitcoin, which means the broader market's being held up, at least for now. Let's go ahead and move on to Ethereum here. Let me go ahead and turn off our long-term algorithm. So again, all of these algorithms that I'm turning on and off through the analysis here are available for you to use completely for free. Just like this video, subscribe to the channel, and send your TradingView username into our Discord support, and we will get you hooked up. I'm here all day, every day, willing to answer as many questions as you possibly have while we're getting this channel off the ground. You know, we're really all about education. Been doing this for a very long time, so, you know, more than comfortable sharing with my fellow man. And that's what it's all about here. We're trying to build the largest algorithmic trading community on the internet, and we want nothing more than to have you all along for this journey, because we've been working on this stuff for a long time. Okay, so let's talk about Ethereum. Ethereum, we are participating in this current breakout move that we're seeing right here. So we achieved target number 1 from our descending channel breakout. And descending channel breakout, basically, like, what we're looking at here is we already took 50% off of our trade off of the table at target number 1. That is mandatory when I'm measuring these technical analysis type of moves, right? You can play it however you want it. You can play with spot, you can play with leverage, but primary rule is always taking at least 50% of your trade off the table at target number 1. The reason for that is all too often we see a perfect jump the creek retest like we're seeing right here, and then we enter a play and we hit target number 1 and then it fails. That happens all the time in the space. But if your risk to reward is 2.4 to 1 like it is on this play, right? You take 50% off of the table, and no matter what, even if you come back down to stop loss, you're still taking profit on this play. Yes, we want it to play out, and we want it to go back up to these previous levels, you know, the $4,000 psychological level, and then back up here around the all-time high levels of around 4,600 and going all the way up to 4,900. But what is going to be the catalyst for a move like that all the way back up to those levels? Well, it's going to have to start with something like what we're looking at right here. So, you know, this play is right in the, it's playing out exactly as we predicted, right, so far. So, you know, we have this descending channel. We had our breakout, which we've been calling live on stream the last week, and we've been talking about it just about every day. So if you tune into these streams, you get to see these type of plays as well, right? How do you go about playing this? You can play it as a pure technical analysis play. You can use something like one of our algorithms to, you know, do your long-term buying and just use these as profit-taking levels. There's about a million ways to go about, you know, how you would play something like this, right? So right now we are sitting at the breakout point, or at the level of entry right here. So, you know, what we're looking for is, you know, our long-term algorithm is just consistently accumulating, right? So I like to play these with long-term holdings, or like sometimes like this one, I'll actually go and enter just a purely technical analysis style trade. So it's multi-versatile, right? Have your long-term algorithm running where you're constantly accumulating, and then play this on the side, or play it with the long-term holdings, right? There's, you know, there's a lot of ways to go about slicing the pie here. So yeah, we've come back down. We are currently sitting at our entry point. So right now, you know, we've already taken 50% of our trade off the table. I get a question a lot, is this another area where you would want to enter? Well, not really, because we've already entered this play and we've already taken half of our trade off. So it wouldn't really make sense in a risk management perspective to come and enter here again. Although it is the lower risk area if that's something that you'd be interested in, or taking half of a trade on, you know, half size trade on this one. That's always a possibility too. I've caught a lot of the trades that were kind of already looking like this, where they had potentially played out. And I have definitely taken some degen plays where maybe I enter a half position size here, going for target 2 and 3. And then again at target 2, we always move our stop loss up to break even, right? So if we do see a bounce here and go up to target number 2, that stop loss is going to get moved up to break even. And then we're going to take probably 25% of our trade off of the rest of it here, and then the other 25% here, or maybe something like 30% and then 20%, where we already took that initial 50% off here. So again, lots of ways to play it. This isn't really a re-entry point. Again, you could, if you wanted to do like a half size move or something like that, but we have already seen that 50% come off the table at target number 1. So that's it for Ethereum at the moment. Besides that, we have this, larger descending broadening formation, which I expect to play out at some point and be absolutely massive, but we just don't know when that time's going to come. And until then, we're just going to play it one move at a time here, people. All right. So I did add Binance Coin to our list of assets that we're going to review every day. The reason I have the assets that I do on the chart is because on the chart that we review every single day is because very picky about coin selection here at Killer Whale. So yeah, we only want to be trading assets at least for the long term, right? For me, I'm much more of a long term, swing trade, buy and hold, position trade type of trader, right? Especially, even in like the stock space and things like that, like my long-term portfolio is the majority, 90% of anything that I'm doing. So, for me, I'm looking for assets that have done well and will continue to appreciate in value because of their use case. We will absolutely review any coin that you throw at us, any asset that you throw at us. So if you want to drop something in the comments about a coin or an asset that you're looking at, we can talk about everything from, descending formations, triangle formations, XABCD patterns, Wyckoff distribution, Wyckoff accumulation, right? There's all kinds of things that we can go over here on the channel. So yeah, just looking for that community involvement. And again, we're giving all of our technology, at least on the TradingView side of things, away completely for free, right? So we're just happy to have you on board. And yeah, let's go ahead and talk about BNB and why I've added it to our list here. So if I look at BNB on the daily, let's go ahead and just pull it up on the daily here. It has had a really, really awesome run in its life here. So, just recently achieving new all-time highs all the way up at 1378. That's crazy. But yeah, actually, you know what? Let me just zoom out to like the weekly here. That'll give us a bit more nuanced outlook on BNB. So BNB, as you probably know, is Binance's native token, so Binance Coin. And we're trading BNB to USDT or USDC, whatever your favorite or, whatever base currency that you want to trade against. For me, I like to trade against either USDC or USDT, but they have pairs like against the Great British Pound and Australian dollar and all kinds of stuff, right? So if we look at this on the weekly, the criteria that we're looking for in order to accumulate long term is it must be above where it started when the data starts. So the data starts back here in 2017, right? And you can see since 2017, Binance Coin was $8, $5, right? I've been looking at this thing since it was $5. Now it's $873, right? So I've been accumulating Binance Coin for a very long time on and off, right? When we were in the bear market of 2021, 2022, right? It looked like doom and gloom, but if you look at it on like the weekly chart here, the lowest price that it got to was about $175. And remember, it started at $5. So that gives us a heck of a lot of conviction about accumulating this asset long term. Also, it has a serious use case being the #1 largest exchange, their native token, right? So BNB, been accumulating this one for a long time, and it definitely deserves to be on the list. So let's go ahead and go back to the 8-hour chart and talk about this a little bit on a technical basis, and also, just from the standpoint of we are firmly in a bullish control zone at the moment. So when I say, I'm sorry, we are firmly in a bearish control zone at the moment. So when I say bearish control zone, what I'm talking about is when we were looking at Bitcoin, I was saying we're still in bullish control. That's because we're still in the green cloud, right? And on Bitcoin, we've been in that green cloud for 2 years now. So as you can see, Binance coin, when it hit its all-time high, we really made like a double top here. Let's go ahead, and this is on the 8-hour chart. It might not be exactly the same on other charts, but let's go ahead and just analyze this on the 8-hour, which is the one that our algorithm's on. So you can see here we got a double top kind of formation going on here, and that has led to some serious downside action, right? So now we are in bearish control on this asset at the moment. And all that means is, you know, we're just quietly accumulating in the background on the way down here. Now, I was looking at it from top to where we are right now. We're looking at approximately a 36% decline. That is a healthy pullback right there. That's exactly what we're looking for in order to start sizing this up in maybe a few different areas like the technical analysis type of breakout. So let's go ahead and I'm going to turn that off, and we're just going to size this up here in a couple of different ways, right? To me, it's looking like descending channel breakout. Yep, here we go. Something along these lines. Actually, you know what? Instead of a channel, let's go ahead and plot it more like this, where we have a, yeah, that's what we're looking at there. There we go. So this is very interesting, and I had not put my eyeballs on this quite yet, but now we got our eyeballs on it here, people. So what is happening here? I'm just going to continue to do the TA here. So this is a really, really heavy downsloping descending triangle, right? And descending patterns are typically bullish, and we can see that this thing has made a nice retest right here. Just 1 second. Sorry. Bit of a perfectionist of getting the charting to look nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's just plot on here where the breakout zone was. Boop, right there. And then we're going to just duplicate this guy, and then we're going to mark our retest zone. So, okay, here is what's going down. We have had a breakout and a retest, right? Now, we are right at the breakout level, so what I want to do here is I want to measure our targets, and I'm going to possibly enter this as a technical analysis style of play, or at least play it with the targets that I'm going to measure out here. So let's just go ahead and go. That target's a little bit too small for my liking. Typically, target number 1, we measure from the lowest point to the breakout zone. Since this one went about, I want to say 80% or 85% of the way through the structure before breaking out, that might be a little bit too small for me. And I might actually measure target number 1 from this previous low to the size of the structure here. So that's going to look a little more it's going to look a little more like what I'm trying to go for on the risk to reward and my first target here. So you definitely could have measured it with this little tiny target here, but for me that's not quite enough to say that's where I'm going to take like 50% of my trade off of the table. So this is a good example of we could definitely still enter this play. Obviously, the best area to enter this play would have been down here and measuring it, maybe like this, or we could measure somewhere in between like this. Yeah, let's just go ahead and measure it from in between the breakout and the retest zone. So yeah, I'm going to be looking to enter this play, and here we're going to put our stop loss just below this lowest, most recent peak here. Or sorry, this lowest, most recent dip here. And let's go ahead and measure target number 2. Target number 2, I'm going to measure from the size of the structure at the top. Boom, boom. Okay, very good. Let's just get that nice and lined up. Okay, target number 2. And then we could do target number 3 as maybe, yeah, this point to the all-time high, which is the top of the structure. So the third target, how I'm measuring that, is from the bounce that led into the creation of the pattern, right? So target number 3, we're going to put that up here. And again, you could have made this one 4 targets if you wanted to by simply measuring, you know, from this point to the breakout point. That's just too small for me to really like size up a good risk to reward and everything like that. And also, again, taking, you know, I'm going to be entering this trade probably either tonight or tomorrow, depending on what I see in the market. But yeah, basically going to be entering right around where we're at right now. So I might just move these guys up here just a tiny touch. Yeah. Up here, up here. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to be entering right about here, and then I want to put my stop loss back down over here, give it a little bit more room. And as we can see, it's still 1.41 to 1 on the risk to reward. So for our first target, 1.41 to 1. Second target, 3.48 to 1. And third target, 5.2 to 1 risk to reward. So I'm happy with that. Again, I'm going to be entering right about where we're at right now. Let's go ahead and put a circle on here because typically I like to enter on this retest, but didn't catch it in time. I am going to be entering right here. Got my risk to reward. I'm happy with this. This looks like a nice play for a technical analysis style of play. And then also, you know, might be using some of the assets from the accumulation algorithm, which we're looking at right here. So using some of the accumulation that we've seen through this area and then entering a position, you know, based off of this technical analysis right here. And look, now that we turned it back on, this would bring us out of our bearish control, right? So we probably will find some resistance like right around this area where the cloud is currently. And that's okay, right? We'll have already taken 50% of our trade off the table right here, and then looking to maybe take like 25, 30% off here, and the remaining 20 to 25% off here. And yep, again, we got a nice, you know, 1.41, 3.5, and 5.2 risk to reward on that. So that's Binance coin on the 8-hour chart. And if you look at our long-term accumulation algorithm, you can see that this thing has been 83% profitable the entire duration of the life of this asset. So it does that by just not selling very often, right? We have very specific sell metrics that we're looking for. And in this case, what we're looking for in our algorithm here, in order to do our selling activity, is going to be a take profit based upon an ATR multiple of 40. And that's going to be taking 20% of the trade off of the table each time that 40 ATR gets exceeded. So you can see last time it did some major selling activities because of the take profit was back here in September. And then before that, it was in May of 2024. So yeah, we're looking at, you know, few and far between, but very concise, very collected and coordinated effort as to where we're taking some of that off of the table. And I am just following this algorithm for how it is straight up. And then the other place is I follow this one more for the take profits than I do for these exits based upon the cloud flip. So, you know, I don't have selling enabled straight to this asset. I really don't have that on a lot of things. I like to see it print on the chart and then take action, you know, either manually or just, you know, knowing that I can turn it on because we're in a profit taking area. Versus here, I don't really want to like sell back to cash necessarily, except for on like Solana. I leave this one on sometimes, but yeah, that's a lot of ways to interpret it, and you know, just easy ways to help you manage your risk automatically. That's the cool part, is all of this happens automatically. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to XRP. We already got it pulled up on the technical side, so we'll just talk about the technicals first instead of the algo side first. But okay, very, very cool. So XRP, again, we've been talking about this for the last few days. We're firmly in this descending channel, and we're just kind of speculating that it will break out to the upside at some point, most likely, unless there's like a big landslide move or some really bad news in the crypto space, and Bitcoin goes down to that 65K level that we have measured from the bear pole bear flag. If that starts to happen, yeah, everything's out the window. But, you know, Bitcoin still is in its bullish control zone, so bullish until proven otherwise, right? Here, bearish until proven otherwise, right? So we're basically just stuck in this downward trend, and we're looking to have a breakout at some point. And then when we do see that breakout, we're looking at this larger broadening structure for a bit more nuanced move that could lead us maybe up to new all-time highs or something like this. You know, we didn't quite get all the way to our third target on this one before coming back down and getting stopped out at break even. But we did hit target number 1 and target number 2, right? And took 50% of our trade off here and another 25% of our trade off here and got stopped out. So that's okay, right? That's a very successful trade that took, you know, from April to about October, right? So that's just a continuous holding pattern type of trade right there. Here we are speculating a little bit more on this descending channel breaking out, but we're just going to have to wait and see. I did plot these, you know, a few days ago, and you can see unless we have a solid bounce up from here, we might not achieve this particular predicted breakout zone, but we're just going to have to keep our eye on it and see what happens there. Let's go ahead and talk about the long-term algo. Again, anytime I'm turning on and off these long-term algorithms, this is all available. All you have to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your TradingView username into our Discord support, and I'll get you access to all of these algorithms that we're talking about. Okay, very good. So let's go ahead and talk about our 100% successful XRP algorithm. It is definitely worthwhile if you're interested at all in trade automation to get your hands on this stuff, because it's completely customizable. And, you know, I just in our support chat dropped this configuration for another user. So it's all available, and we are giving it away 100% for free. How are we able to achieve 100% success on this algorithm? Well, it does not sell that often. This is a long-term accumulation algorithm, and you can see the last time that it sold was back here in December of 2024 when we had that big run-up at the end of last year, right? We're coming up on the end of this year, and currently XRP is down 7.5% year to date, and we've just kind of been quietly accumulating through this whole area while participating in some of these, you know, larger technical analysis style of plays. But that's about it for XRP at the moment, you know, just kind of calmly collecting, you know, with our long-term accumulation algorithm here. So let's go ahead and move on. Solana. Solana is in a bearish control zone right now. Solana has been, you know, a lot more prominent in flipping from bearish control, bullish control, bearish control, bullish control. We've been in bearish control since about September 25th. So you can see it's not really doing any accumulation through this zone. It's been doing its accumulation, you know, in these other areas. But since we, you know, since we did go into this bearish stint, I just don't have it accumulating at the moment. There are ways you could set it up where it would just continuously accumulate all the time. That's just not how I have it set here. Again, because one of the things that we played on this move was this technical analysis play that played out exactly to the day that we had done during trade planning. So when you see things like this that haven't played out yet, this looked like this at one point, right? And this one happened to play out exactly to the day that we had, you know, laid out in our trade planning. And I called this one in our Discord chart updates. So if you want access to like us actually calling out some things, you know, you can get access to my partner calling out options plays and myself calling out these like, you know, technical analysis style plays. You'll notice I don't do a whole lot of shorting. That's because I'm more of a long-term accumulation style of trader. That's just my style. As you can see, we're talking about things on like the 12-hour chart, the 8-hour chart, the daily chart, at least, you know, for the majority of what I do is going to be these swing type of moves, these long-term accumulation. But that's not to say that these algorithms can't be applied all the way down to like day trading on the minute chart, right? So, you know, there's a firm focus on the long-term side of things, but that's why we're trying to build our community, is we want to get a whole bunch of people looking at this through a whole lot of different lenses. You know, I'm only one person, my partner's only one person. We put our heads together pretty well, but we're looking to build the largest community on the internet of algorithmic traders. If any of that sounds good, just go ahead and drop your TradingView username into our Discord support and we will get you access. So that's enough lip flapping. Let's talk about the TA here. Descending channel is what we're looking at the moment, right? And that's been validated by 1, 2, 3 touches on the top, 1, 2, 3, 4 touches on the bottom. So we're definitely firmly in this descending channel. We are speculating that we might have a breakout. You know, we'd have to see quite the bounce here to go up to my initially predicted breakout zone. But yeah, if we see anything between here and here as far as like a breakout goes, that would make a lot of sense. Also because this purple box is our zone of confluence. And if I just zoom out here a little bit, you can see that this purple box has been interacted with as support many, many times in the past, right? We got support here, support here, support here, support here. And now where we are at, we've found support 3 times within this same zone. So if Bitcoin decides that it does want to put a bit of a bottom in here, we can definitely start making ideas and moves into playing this 3 target type of breakout from this descending channel. So definitely keeping an eye on Solana. Let's go ahead and move forward from here. Again, if anybody has any requests that they want to put in, just go ahead and drop it in the chat and I will pull up the algorithm, the indicator, or the asset that you want us to throw one of these on and review it right here in the stream. Let's go ahead and talk about TRX. Tron, again, one of my favorite coins long-term to accumulate. This thing really has not even seen a bear market like every other coin that we saw in 2022. TRX has just been trucking to the upside for basically its entire life. If we look at it on the weekly here, you can see that this thing is just an absolute monster and really has like hardly been phased by some of these bearish periods, right? There was a large like you know, 5-6 week period where we were up at previous all-time highs, you know, back in 2021, and we did see, you know, a decrease from about 16 cents all the way down to about 5 cents, right? But that's like nothing in comparison to what the rest of the market did, right? The rest of the market was down 90% plus, and it was really really tough to come to work sometimes. Just kidding. No, so yeah, we're looking at this on the weekly. This definitely fits our criteria, right? Has had an increase in value over the duration of its life. And this thing has done extremely well and, you know, is one of my favorite coins to accumulate and trade. And it's just, you know, I don't want to say predictable, but it's been very easy to play these like, you know, larger bullish, you know, long type of positions, right? And you can see right here, we are speculating on another move at some point when we do start to break out of this descending channel. We did put in what looks like it could be a bit of a reversal pattern down here, either like a tweezer bottom or, you know, a double bottom. We're on the 8-hour chart. So if we go and put that on the daily, I'm fairly sure that's going to look, yep, on the daily it looks much more like a tweezer bottom, right? And the difference between like a tweezer bottom and a double bottom is just the distance between, you know, where the peaks were, right? Double bottoms tend to be a little bit more nuanced, longer term, come back and test support, and then move forward, whereas tweezer bottoms and tweezer tops tend to be like quick, sharp moves like we saw here. It found its bottom, tested the heart line, got rejected, found its bottom, testing the heart line. So you can see that's pretty much what we're looking at here, right? Found its bottom, heart line, found its bottom, heart line. And until we break out of this heart line, we've gotten rejected off of it 1, 2, 3 times now. So, you know, typically things after about 3 or 4 or 5 tests, it will get, you know, that trend line, whatever direction it is going to become weaker because it's been tested so many times, right? So what we really want to see is putting a bottom in here, breaking this heart line, and then going up more towards our, you know, top side of our descending channel, and then we can make some moves on talking about, you know, a breakout type of play with a few targets here. Tron looking great. Okay, so gold still breaking out, right? Let me turn our long-term accumulation algorithm off here. Gold still breaking out. Now, what I do like about gold is it looks like we're going to come back for that retest, right? So I could even make this a little bit smaller maybe there and take our retest. Oops. Take our retest. Boop. And I want to put this guy right about there. Okay, so yeah, what I'm going to be looking for here is we have our breakout and we're coming back down for this retest. And I really want to see it come test this trend line as support. But really, if I'm going to play this like a technical analysis style play, it's going to be in the next like couple of days here that we're entering into this play. Regardless of if it comes all the way back down here or not, definitely going to start entering into this play with the majority of the entry being down here when it comes to test the trend line. Because sometimes assets, they break out and they just run away, but we want the test of the trend line to be our confirmation as to, yes, we're really going to enter this thing with the, you know, intention of having our targets playing out, right? So over the next like 2 or 3 days on, you know, on the stream and everything, we'll be talking about gold in its breakout position here and coming back for a retest, and then definitely playing this 4 targets that we have here, with our top target being $5,400 an ounce. Is that possible? We've seen crazy things in the past, and that's just where we measured the target, right? I think it's absolutely possible. Gold's been on a tear since 2023, basically, right? If we go back over here, this really started, my God, end of 2022 going into 2023, and we've just pretty much been on almost a parabolic run ever since then. So do I think 5,400 an ounce on gold is possible? Yeah, I do. Okay, very cool. So that is our crypto assets. Let's just go one more time, just revisit Bitcoin here and just say, you know, we do, for the sake of the entire crypto market, we really want Bitcoin to stay above 81,000. If we go below 81,000 and get a candle close below, we're going to start turning into some bearish outlooks, and we might be seeing a lot more of these type of patterns that we're measuring out instead of these awesome, amazing bull patterns that, you know, you could throw a dart at the dartboard and be successful in a bullish trend, right? In a bear trend, you have to be a lot more nuanced and just understand where the levels of confluence, you know, where the levels of like support could be. And if we do break down to the downside here, you know, we have targets all the way down at 65,000. So nobody wants to see that, but that's the reality of the situation. So we're just going to keep our eye on it, right? We want to stay above 81,000. That would keep us in bullish control. Target all the way down to 65,000. All right, very good. Let's go ahead and move on here to our Mag 7. So as we had discussed on stream yesterday with one of my partners who does our options trading and things like that. So, you know, he's looking at he's looking at levels of support at around 292, 273, 256, and 235 on Google, which would make plenty of sense because, you know, this is the 10-minute chart that we're looking at here, and you can see our last swing trade here that was around November 10th entry to November 17th, so entered for about a week here and that was our last swing trade. So right now, we're not going to get another swing trade type of setup until this bearish control turns to bullish control. Again, this is the 10-minute chart, but if we zoom out here, let's just look at it on like the daily. It's been an absolutely insane parabolic move, and these levels make a lot more sense when you zoom out on it like this, right? Let me just go ahead and turn the algo off here. Yeah, so we got our 50 and we got our 20 moving averages, right? So the 20 is above the 50, and we are seeing that kind of curl to the downside. Let me just go ahead and zoom in here so everybody can see. So yeah, we're having that kind of, we're breaking below the 20 here. As you can see, it's acted as support a number of times in this trend already. So we had support from the 20 on November 14th. We had support from the 20 on October 10th, and several other times as we've been in this really insane upward stretch that we're in right now. So yeah, we've found support from the 20, but it wouldn't make, it would make a lot of sense if we did come back and revisit some of these areas, because we really need to have some sort of cool off before being able to make like any serious decisions about anything besides this thing is just parabolic, right? These levels would be, totally realistic, and we, after discussing it yesterday, absolutely possible to go all the way back down to about 236, or even that most recent previous all-time high around like 208. All of these levels would make sense, but as far as sizing this up for like a technical analysis style of trade, we just don't have anything to do that too solid at the moment, unless you're, comfortable playing off of a single moving average, which I am not personally. Okay, that's Google. Let's go ahead and talk about Tesla. Boom. Man, this thing's about to hit target number 1 here. So we never had a retest on Tesla, and I always want to see a retest, but that's not how we're playing this one. We've just been playing it literally since this close on the day. I think we entered beginning of the new day on Monday, and so we're a little bit above entry where I wanted to be, but this thing's looking like it's just going to go straight to target number 1 here at 505, and then target number 2 at 529, and top target all the way at 598. So right now we did just put in a fresh all-time high today, I believe. Yep, sure did. Fresh all-time high earlier today. So new fresh all-time high, 491.50, and yeah, that's we could see a blue sky breakout here, in which tomorrow and the next few days we just have a move straight up to our target number 1 and potentially target number 2. But we are expecting target number 3 from our previous trade. If we go up to target 1 and 2, we're going to hit that third target from the trade that we're still in from the 8th of August, right? So target number 1 and 2 got achieved. We're waiting on target number 3. We have a secondary technical analysis play going on. So lots of stuff on Tesla. Looks great. Again, descending, broadening formation breakout. I thought there could have been like an inverse head and shoulders thing going on here, but that's now been invalidated, so we can just get rid of these. And yeah, blue skies ahead. It looks like we could find some resistance now that we've found a new all-time high, but I am really expecting target number 1 in like the next day or two. It's just being an outlier, against the rest of the market. As you can see, I got SPY pulled up here. We're also in a descending, broadening formation style of breakout. And today we just came back down to retest our entry zone. So, looking for a potential other retest down here in which we might go in a little heavier, because we never quite achieved target number 1. So still waiting on target number 1, which would be new all-time highs. So hopefully we can get a nice bounce here, but we got a risk to reward on this one of 1.7 to 1 on target number 1, 3 to 1 on target number 2, and 4.8 to 1 on target number 3. So, yep, just kind of waiting to see how this is going to play out. December has been down since the beginning of the month. I think we're down. Yeah, I mean we're down not tremendously, right? We're down maybe 1% or something like that since the beginning of the month. Yeah. Okay. Very good. So S&P 500, yeah, definitely looking for, some support in the area that we're currently at. As you can see, today formed, kind of like a dragonfly doji, or, kind of like maybe a tombstone kind of doji, something like that, and yeah, we're just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen here, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do come back down and bounce off this support area from the descending trend line of the descending broadening formation. All right, let's go to Meta. Again, we talked about Meta yesterday with a few different lenses on it. We do have some bearish divergence going on here and on the MACD, and we're kind of like right in the middle of this descending broadening formation. So not really speculating on a bullish play at the moment. Not really speculating on a bearish play. We do have support down here at this 633 level, which I can throw on the chart here. Yep, right around here. That might be like our next, that might be where we're finding some support right here, and kind of just one of our next levels. And then other levels besides that, we could put one maybe right about here, right? That's another level of support down at that 598 level. And we have support at our 632 level. Okay, so yeah, not really speculating on too much there at the moment. Just kind of hanging out. And if I throw our algo back on here. Oop, that's not the right one. Sorry. A few different ones we're looking at on Meta here. Okay, yeah, there we go. So, this is like more of a short-term scalp type of algorithm, right? So it just had a selling activity occur yesterday on this like giant shooting star looking candle. And we talked a little bit about this, in yesterday's stream, but this shooting star candle is strange because typically shooting star candles would happen, at a relative peak. So we might have seen something like that over here that would give us conviction that, yes, we do have a high amount of resistance. We got this like in this weird middle zone and like this giant pump out of nowhere. And yeah, so we ended up doing some profit taking off of Meta right there. But just for the time being, we're not looking at any like technical analysis style plays besides using the scalping algorithm here. So, yep, all right, gonna just go ahead and move forward. Amazon is looking a little sad at the moment, but we are just kind of speculating and waiting on, you guessed it, descending broadening formation breakout. Let me go ahead and turn these moving averages off, and we'll just look at it on a technical analysis basis. And there we go. I can turn my algo back on. So, yep, the algo overall 83% profitable. This thing's been an absolute monster. Yeah, we've been doing really good things with this algorithm. But so we are in a descending broadening formation, which descending patterns are typically bullish, and we will have a bullish breakout of this at some point. So, we've seen 4 red days in a row on Amazon. And again, Ethan has a line in the sand here of about $219. So really what we want to see is like establishing some support right here before we have the, authority, if you will, to go and speculate on a bullish breakout. But I already measured some targets, on stream the last few days while we've been, talking about things. And I am expecting some sort of move similar to this at some point. But we're just going to have to wait and see when that might happen because, currently I have that not even happening until the end of December. Unless we start to make a move higher here, which would be our third highest low, right? So we would have had a higher low from October, and then November, and then if we can form one more, that would give us some nice conviction right around this 219 level to start looking at targets, you know, up to 235, 241, 249, and 266, 267. Okay, Amazon, great, looking good. Apple, we were talking about, we're going to have probably some downside action on Apple. So targets we've measured to the downside, we did come and test the bottom of the descending channel, and we didn't really have a breakout. Bulls came to defend it, so we did close below it yesterday, or like right on it rather yesterday. You know, closed basically below it yesterday, and then the bulls came back to put us back into that trend. So we are firmly in this bullish ascending channel. So another thing we do have here on the RSI is bearish divergence going on. So we have some bearish divergence. What that means is we have an ascending level of price in the price action, right? So the price is going up, but the RSI is going down. So that gives us an indication that the trend might be weakening, and we could speculate some of these targets. Now, I have drawn here target all the way down to 225. I don't really think that's going to happen, but, you know, that's how measuring these targets work, right? You know, if you look at this previous descending formation that we had here, and it played out to all three targets and exceeded it, right? So, you know, at the beginning of the year, we had a big downside move. If we have some bearish activity going on in the broader market, we're going to see some of these targets play out. And Apple just looks like it needs a bit of a cool off anyway, because it's just been in this, you know, very heavily upward sloping ascending channel. So yeah, we could see some targets to the downside here. Just speculating for now until we see a solid break and potentially a retest. But yeah, we didn't get a solid break yesterday. It pushed right back up into the channel. So just kind of waiting to see what happens on Apple here. Okay, moving on to Microsoft. Microsoft just accumulating a position right now, right? The algorithm's just continuously accumulating at the moment. 86% profitable. This thing's had, you know, about a 5-to-1 risk to reward in the past. You know, how long does this thing go back? So since, we could just pull it up on the chart here. Yeah, since February 2019. So yeah, 5-to-1 risk to reward all the way back to 2019. You know, this thing's been doing pretty good. You just got to have a little conviction as to, you know, this thing will accumulate in a downward swing for some time, right? But it's really good at finding those peaks. So, you know, this thing can be used in a number of different ways. If you want access to any of our TradingView indicators or strategies, just go ahead and drop your username, your TradingView username, into our Discord support. Okay, very cool. Microsoft, let's on the 1 hour. Let's go ahead and look at it like on the daily. Yep, let's go ahead and turn the algo off so we can see it a little bit clearer here. Okay, as we can see on the daily, we had this double top, right? So on the weekly, it looks a lot more like a tweezer top, but on the daily, it's a double top where we had this kind of nuanced downward swing, come back up to test all-time highs, and then get rejected. So for the past, since the 27th of October, we've been in this downward descending channel, right? And I am going to be speculating on a breakout move here at some point. So we could actually just go ahead and measure that. We'll just go ahead and speculate on it a little bit. So I'm thinking from right about, the cool part about descending channels is they're fairly easy to measure the targets because the channel is parallel. So every single time you can measure target 1, 2, and 3, and then instead of like having to remeasure them, if the trend continues to the downside, you can just move your targets. So I always thought that's pretty cool about descending channels. So we'll just go ahead and say that might be about our breakout zone. And then let's go ahead and take this guy and we'll measure it from the most recent low to the second swing high. Okay, so that'll be target 2. Might either bring this one down or this one up, depending, but let's go ahead and measure target number 3. So swing low to where the channel started. Okay. And we'll just go ahead and drop this down. And drop this down. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this first target maybe down a little bit, like this recent, this candle's high. So we'll do something like that. And then this one, I think I'll just take this back down to previous all-time high there. So that's how I'm going to speculate this for the time being. But again, we're not going to act on any of this until we do see a firm break and hopefully a retest. So definitely going to be acting on a firm break, but we always want to wait for the retest for like the majority of our play here. But we'll just go ahead and say potential breakout, potential retest zone. And maybe I'll bring this back up just a little bit like that and like that. Okay, so yep, that's kind of how I'm speculating Microsoft, at least on the daily there. But let's go ahead and put this back on the hour chart and then turn our algorithm back on, and we can kind of see on the hour chart now we have everything measured out. And you know, if we're going to start breaking out here, you know, actually maybe now that I'm looking at this on the hour chart, might do something a bit more like this and then move these targets up a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so current targets 504, 520, 553, 555. So we'll just say 505, 520, 555. Boom. Microsoft. Very good, very good. All right, and again, if you want access to this algorithm, just go ahead and send your TradingView username into our Discord support, and we'll get you hooked up on all of the strategies that we are giving away while we're getting this channel off the ground. Moving on to NVIDIA, we sized this one up yesterday live on stream. So on the technical side, we're just seeing a lot of these descending channels at the moment. We're looking to, you know, find support where we've been finding support the last 3 days, and then looking for some sort of break to the upside at some point. But what we want to see is a solid break and then some conviction behind the move. So I'm actually going to make this a little bit smaller now that we're getting closer to this descending channel here. And this one, I'll go ahead and size it up about like that. Okay, so yeah, if we start breaking out from here, we got targets at 196, 215, and 222. All right, yep, NVIDIA looking good. And then let's look at our algo real quick to see what action we may have had today. Yep, so today it sent a buy signal for NVIDIA. So that's the first buy signal that we've gotten since November 17th. Okay, so yeah, this is the first buy signal that we've got since November 17th. And then we had a buy signal on November 12th and another one on the 7th, right? So waited a little bit before entering again, but we have just been on this consistent, rock to the upside ever since we had a breakout of our descending broadening formation down here, right? So descending broadening formation that broke out in May of this year went pretty much straight to all 3 targets that we had here. So this is the first play that we've been speculating on from like a bullish perspective since target number 3 was achieved back over in July. So yeah, first really technical analysis, bullish move that I've wanted to have some conviction on and possibly look at taking here. So yeah, we're just looking at if this thing starts to break out the upside of the channel, you know, we have our targets measured, and, you know, we're going to be looking at this thing from a little bit of a different lens. But I might also want to drop this stop loss down just a little bit, something like this. Yep. Okay, very good. And that would give us risk to reward of 3 to 1, 6 to 1, and 7 to 1. So for me, I like to be at least, you know, target number 1 has to be 1 to 1 or more. You know, really 1 to 2, or I'm sorry, 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 would be the best. But yeah, at least 1 to 1 when I'm looking at targets from descending channels and things like that. Other than that, Walmart algorithm still just trucking. I'm sure Walmart's making lots and lots of sales for Christmas. I went there twice this last week, so I'm contributing to my own stock appreciation. And let's just look at this. The algo has been 86% profitable with a 12 to 1 risk to reward through the duration of this algorithm's life. So this one does really well. Sells these relative peaks, accumulates these downswings. I use this one pretty much exactly how you're seeing it on the screen here, where I'm allowing it to do its selling activities and its buying activities, and just kind of let it rock and roll and do its thing. And every time it does its selling activities, that's nice because it goes back to cash a little bit, frees up some stuff. This one's pretty palatable. Walmart's only $115 a share, so this one you can easily let run on a smaller account size and make it happen. That's it for now. Let's go ahead and look at our algorithm that I've been working on for day trading. And I have a 150K account hooked up to this one at the moment. So yeah, yesterday we had like it should have been about a $200 trade. Again, I'm having a little bit of trouble with this particular one, getting things to fire properly. So I've just been editing it slightly in between streams here. So currently that account is up at like $500 at the moment. So hopefully we can get this thing to fire off how we want it to. And then, you know, I'll be looking to take this thing all the way to past and get it funded and just be able to rock this thing live on stream. I'm an algorithmic trader, you know, been doing the longer term algorithm stuff and long-term investing for a long time, but just recently within this last year getting into more of the day trading style of algorithms. So this one's very interesting. This is actually another provider who I've been giving shout outs to on the channel here, but they just released their new Evo X algorithm, so Algo Pro Evo X, and it's much more along the lines of a day trading type of algorithm. You can see like you have your different signal confluences, and you have everything from fear and greed, volume exhaustion, price exhaustion, stochastic, average true range, all can be indicators that go into making a signal, right? And then they have a lot of different risk management stuff. So I've just been using this one because it's definitely designed more for day trading. Like you can filter by volume, filter by trend, you know, close trades upon trend change, filter by volume weighted average cross, or volume weighted average price cross, range breakout. You have a whole take profit and stop loss manager. So I've been having some good luck with this thing, but I do want to see it fire off properly and just get this thing nice and greased up and, you know, get the wheels turning on it, because if it performs like it does on the, you know, performance chart up here, or how it performs in the backtest report, yeah, we're going to have some really nice stuff going on here. Also, this one's on the 9-minute chart, so each of these trades lasts about 10 to 20 minutes maximum, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. If we have one successful trade in a day, I just want to cut it off and come back the next day, right? So I have a few different versions of this thing that I'm working with right now. This one seems to be the most promising, which I was messing with today. This is the same thing with just no moving average filter and a few different indicators added to this equation. But yeah, this one, it has a really nice looking profit curve. If it can perform anything like it does in the, you know, the chart up here, right, with, you know, 4 or 5 positive days in a row between each negative day, that's going to be really good. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing works going in the future. I also have been testing this with a trailing stop loss leg attached to it and not been having a ton of success with that. So I'm going to just try and use like market orders and just be in and out of these trades. You know, and like I said, it only trades like once per day, but that's okay. That's the golden, you know, that's the golden number in the prop space, in my opinion, is 1, 2, maybe 3 trades a day. And, you know, I designed one for New York session as well, but the New York session one looks a little ugly because it's been having, you know, this is in my paper account that I'm rocking this thing, and like yesterday it had a minus $1,200 day. So it's a little bit more in the works. And also during New York session, you're going to have a lot heavier swings. So the drawdown on this thing's been about 5,300 on the strategy tester, whereas the one I was just showing you has a $1,600 drawdown. So if you're going to use them on like the same account size, you know, you're going to have a lot less fluctuation if we can get this thing to fire off properly than if you were to have this New York session one. So I'm going to do a bit more work on this. This is in my paper account at the moment, but if I do switch it over to a prop account, we'll keep talking about this one for New York session as well. And then, yeah, I'm just, another thing I'm trying to do is get one of these trades to fire off during, you know, the live show as well. But, you know, I don't make the technical analysis lineup. The price action makes the technical analysis lineup. So it's not like we trade every day at 7 o'clock on the dot. Some days, sure, but then some days it doesn't launch till midnight. So I am working on a few different other strategies, trying to get something that will launch a little bit closer to open that's consistent, and we can do live trades on the channel together. Another one I'm working on here is this moving average bands, which I'll be releasing in our oh, here we go. What do we got here? Okay, so we did get a live trade here. Boom, perfect. Let's take a look at this. So yes, we got this algorithm right here. So it did fire off exactly when we wanted today. So that's very good. And I believe, does this one have a hard stop on it? Let me take a look. All right, yeah, so we are short 1 NQ contract right now. Short 1 NQ contract. And basically what we're looking for is, this is on the 9-minute chart. So we're looking for, in the next 9 minutes, we're going to see if this thing is above or below. If it's above, it's going to wait maybe a couple more minutes and see if, maybe like 1 or 2 more candles to see if we do end up going back below, in which we have a trailing take profit metric in the algorithm. Or if it's too far above, it's also going to send a signal for a sell. So if it sells negative, this is a martingale strategy. So the next trade that it'll do, if it loses the first trade, it'll do a martingale for 2 contracts. So these bigger numbers, like one of the days that I had it before we actually went into this live Tradify account, it ended up having a losing day, but then it ended up martingaling 8 contracts into a $3,900 win. And that's when I was like, all right, this thing's going on a prop account, right? So you can see right now we're participating in this short move, and we're just going to see what happens here. Currently up $300. And, you know, this is one of those things where you could have a profit target set of like $100 or $200, and you would have already won this trade, right? Because of the way that this algorithm works, we're going to wait another 7 minutes. So the bigger downside move that we have, the bigger win that we're going to have. But again, you could have already taken profit on this trade and been up $100, $200, $300, right? For me, I'm not an adrenaline junkie. I don't like to touch the buttons. I like to set my mathematical parameters and then let it run. Takes a lot of the headache out of the process for me anyway, because I have lots of different algorithms. As you can see, all of these right here on the side, these are all different algorithms going to different places, right? Do all of them work? Not necessarily, but that's why I'm streaming the one that I'm streaming on the channel here, is because this one, I believe once I get it nice and dialed in, this one will work very well. And we'll be able to take these trades together on channel sometimes. So very cool. Let's just go ahead and see how this thing plays out here. Any comments would be appreciated in the YouTube chat. If you want to see any assets being analyzed live, we can do that. If you want to see a specific indicator on TradingView, a specific strategy, this is pretty much what I do all day, every day. So yeah, I'm happy to review things, happy to take requests for assets, all that kind of stuff. And if you want access to any of these algorithms that you're seeing for our long-term stuff and our Mag 7 stuff, just go ahead and drop your TradingView username into our Discord support. You can find all the links below for all of our invite-only scripts, our Discord, all of our discount codes for different prop firms, and currently we are running a 50% off sale that goes until January 1st, and that 50% off sale gets you 50% off any of our KWIP subscriptions. So if any of this stuff goes over your head and you're like, you know what, I'd rather have the signals go straight to my account and not have to set all this stuff up myself, well, that's exactly what we designed the KWIP for. So we have our conservative, moderate, and aggressive AI models that hook up to all the major crypto exchanges. So you can accumulate the top 10 coins by market cap using conservative. You can do buying and selling signals with moderate and aggressive. Then moderate does the top 20 coins by market cap. Aggressive does the top 30 coins by market cap. So yeah, we'll just see how this trade plays out here. And again, I'm, going to be setting these up in a number of different ways. Some on like 25K accounts that have a $100 profit target and things like that. But for right now, while we're working the kinks out, I'm just going to let the algorithm do what it does and try and pass this 150K account that I have going on here. Cool, calm, and collected. That's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to make the world's largest algorithmic trading community. So go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe. All right. As you can see, this thing has turned around a little bit since entry. So again, if you had a profit target set on here for anywhere between $100 and $400, you would have already achieved that. Let's go back over to the strategy report, and we're just going to kind of hang out here for the next 3 minutes while this trade's playing out. Again, if it ends up to be unsuccessful, the next trade is going to martingale. So probably won't get to that on today's stream, but just for the sake of the audience here, yes, this trade, if it's unsuccessful, it will martingale the second trade, so it'll go 2 contracts, and then the third trade, if it's unsuccessful, will be 4 contracts. So that's a pretty easy way to dig yourself out of a hole if you end up losing a trade or two. And this one could take a maximum of 3 trades in a day. So assuming that it loses all 3 trades, the next day it'll come back with 8 contracts, and it's just going to try and hit one big home run move with 8 contracts. So, yep, this one I've been very interested in because I do like the way that the profit curve looks, and it's been playing out pretty well so far. So we'll just keep an eye on it and take these trades live on stream together sometimes. This other version that I made over the last few days also, this one does not have the moving average filter. So I was expecting it takes its trade usually a little sooner, it looked like when I was looking back at it. But, it just depends on when the analysis lines up. So yep, so this one has another 1 minute and 32 seconds. So, we'll just have to see what transpires here. Okay. All good stuff. All good stuff. Yeah, this is so far been a bit of a doji type of candle that we're looking at here. And I do want to set this up on another account that I just got because I'm going to do a $100 target on this exact one on a 25K account and see if we can't hit that $100 target on a few accounts here as well. I do like a $100 or a $200 a day target. It just makes it easy to hit your target, pack it up for the day, and come back the next day. All right, 30 seconds left on this. And if it is in the green here, it'll probably just take the profit wherever it lies. Hopefully we can get a little bit of a downward push here in the last 20 seconds. Seeing if you do have a target set of like 100 or 200, you would have already hit that and you'd just be hanging out. So pack it up for the day. See you tomorrow. Okay, we ended right about break even, so it is going to give us a little bit more time on this one. So yeah, we might have a full 9 more minutes, or depending on where the trailing take profit is, it'll take profit maybe in the next like few ticks here. So we'll just have to see whether the trailing take profit's going to kick in or if it is going to go for that full 8 minutes. All right. Feel like we need some like rocky music here. And it's the final countdown. Okay. Yeah, while we're doing this, Apex is running a 90% off sale for the next 8 hours. So evals are $20 a piece at the moment. You can go ahead and find our, there you go, boom, nailed it. So yeah, we did end up hitting our trailing take profit there. And we ended today with, let's go ahead and see, that was a nice single trade, easy win. And end the day plus 224. If you can multiply that across, 5 accounts, then you would have had a $1,000 day. So, yeah, very good. Okay, well, this stream was great, and we talked about a lot of different things, from Bitcoin being in this bear pull bear flag that's playing out to some of the news in the space. The news in the space has a bit of a bearish outlook at the moment, but just last week we were seeing a bullish outlook in the space, even though we were seeing downside action. So maybe a little bit of change in sentiment. And then, as far as stocks go, the S&P's down a little bit, but it's also, right where our entry point was. So, the stock market seems to be pulling back a little bit, especially from those huge runs that we saw in like Apple and Google. And yeah, just nailed one of our day trades live on stream here. So that's going to do it for the day. Again, if you guys have anything that you want us to review, indicators, strategies, anything like that, just go ahead and drop it in the comments and we will talk about it next stream. And then if you want access to our industry grade tools, go ahead and drop your TradingView username into our Discord support. All right, guys, that's it for today.